Much, Dwight, for the introduction. Good morning to you all from Newfoundland and Labrador. I ask you not to be scared by how many pages I have here. It's an indication of how old I am and how big the font is. Nothing more than that. But I'm truly happy to be here with you, ladies and gentlemen and friends and colleagues, to bring greetings on behalf of the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome to Oceans14, and for those who have traveled to be here with us, a very warm and special welcome to you to what we believe is, as the Mayor said last night, the warmest and the coolest, in many, many ways, province in Canada. A special welcome as well to our plenary speakers today and to other special guests who are here, but to Rear Admiral John Newton, Commander of Canadian Armed Forces Atlantic, Ms. Christine Healy, a fellow Newfoundlander and Labradorian and Vice President of Statoil, and someone we're very proud of in this province. Welcome home. And also to Mr. Terry Lindstrom, General Manager of the National Research Council's Ocean, Coastal and River Engineering. You will notice that I will be using some slides this morning to give you a little flavor as well of our province, and so please take note. Somebody had said to me, I'm going to fool up the slides if I tell stories, so maybe I won't. I'll try to do that toward the end. I'm just going to move on. As the Minister of Business, of Innovation, Business and Rural Development, and responsible for the Research and Development Corporation of Newfoundland and Labrador, I am delighted to be here to open this conference this morning, the largest of its kind ever to be held in our wonderful province. We've been looking forward to welcoming you to our province for quite a while now, and we are tremendously excited that the conference is finally underway. We're honored to host one of the world's most diverse and prestigious ocean technology conferences, and we're thankful the Marine Technology Society and the Ocean Engineering Society of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers chose St. John's for this event. I also thank the members of the local organizing committee for all their hard work, as Dwight outlined, and their dedication to this conference. I am confident that the conference will be a tremendous success. The committee is just one of many examples of how the province's academic, research, and development institutions, together with our varied companies, industry associations, and 3 levels of government, continuously work together to grow and support our ocean technology cluster. Building upon our natural strengths and established capability as the world's cold ocean laboratory, Newfoundland and Labrador is home to a vibrant and growing ocean technology cluster that is developing specialized products and services for niche markets all over the world. Throughout the last couple of days and in the days ahead, I sincerely hope that you will find opportunity to explore firsthand the leading technologies being developed right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. For centuries, a vast, resource-rich expanse of ocean has shaped every aspect of Newfoundland and Labrador's history, economy, and way of life. You see, the ocean is our past, it's our present, and it is certainly our future. The ocean is intrinsically linked to who we are here on this rock, and this heritage has bred our intuition. We are leaders in exploring new frontiers. Maybe that's why Robert Peary saw Captain Bob Bartlett as the natural choice to forge the path to the North Pole during his expedition more than 100 years ago. From our deep and intrinsic roots in the fishery to the development of cutting-edge technologies, Newfoundland and Labrador has been at the forefront of some of the most paradigm-shifting ocean-based research and development achievements of the past few centuries. Newfoundland and Labrador's instinctive relationship with our ocean means that ocean technology expertise is essential to our progress, and our ability to take advantage of strategic opportunities in today's global marketplace. Ocean technology and our strong expertise in it allows us to explore further. It allows us to aim higher and to achieve even greater things. Our level of expertise in areas such as ocean observation, oil spill management, remote sensing, ice surveillance, telecommunications and navigational systems, autonomous underwater vehicles, cold water engineering, geophysical surveying and marine simulation is well known globally and has elevated our position as a world leader in ocean technology. From this, our ocean technology sector has pioneered offshore resource development in the middle of our own iceberg alley, blazed new trails in unmanned vehicle technology, and even delved into the aerospace sector with satellite-based monitoring. With these changes come opportunity, and Newfoundland and Labrador has a long-proven track record of embracing such challenges and turning them into strategic opportunities. This juxtaposition of technology and history has never been clearer than in the past few days with the announcement of the historic Franklin expedition find in Canada's Arctic, which we are proud to say used expertise and technology that was developed right here in our province. And I know the Rear Admiral will have some conversation around this morning as well. 169 years ago, Sir John Franklin's crew became locked in the ice during a doomed search for the Northwest Passage. All 128 crew perished, and until this past week, the ships were never found, sparking almost 2 centuries of mystery and exploration, the stuff of legends, really. However, with a great deal of effort from a host of partners and with underwater vehicle technology that was developed right here in Newfoundland and Labrador, a ship from this ill-fated mission has been discovered. They're coming in now. It's just coming through the Narrows, I believe. Without the fortitude and tenacity of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and our historic relationship and understanding of the sea, along with our prowess within innovative technology, this age-old archaeological mystery may well have remained unsolved. This is just one small example of how our deeply rooted culture in ocean innovation has turned what many view as challenges into remarkable opportunities. With so many opportunities on the horizon, and seeing the strong and undeniable trajectory of our ocean technology industry, let me be clear. The government of Newfoundland and Labrador is steadfast in our support for our diverse ocean technology sector. This commitment was made evident through the creation of a dedicated ocean technology branch within my department, a branch that was recognized last year at the Oceans14 conference with the 2013 Compass International Award for outstanding contributions to the advancement of ocean science and technology. For us, ocean technology is a part of the greater architecture that supports a variety of ocean-based industries and allows other sectors to improve their access to ocean-based research. For example, in recent years, Newfoundland and Labrador has become synonymous with offshore oil and gas. We know this industry, and our technological solutions have facilitated how we explore and operate safely and sustainably in demanding environments. There's a very good reason why we call ourselves the world's cold ocean laboratory. Our ocean technology innovators have experienced the gamut of what the ocean can offer: immense waves, staggering depths, cold and harsh environments, drifting sea ice, towering icebergs, and the list goes on. As the home of Canada's deepest well, 2.6 kilometers under the ocean, Newfoundland and Labrador produces 80% of Canada's offshore petroleum and 1/3 of the country's light crude. Newfoundland and Labrador is also home to the world's first offshore oil structure that was designed to resist the potential impact of sea ice and icebergs, as you can see from the unique design of the concrete base of the Hibernia structure. We are drilling deeper, going further, and breaking ground in the world's ocean technology sector while working hand in hand with our industry, academic, and supply partners. As so many of our past achievements have predisposed us to success, we are fully aware that as we move forward, it will be our inherent and honed experience that drives our future growth in developing next-generation technologies and integrated solutions to both new and old challenges. Home to centers of excellence in some of the world's top research and development infrastructure, our experts are leaders in cold ocean technologies and harsh environmental operations. For example, Look North, based here in St. John's, is Canada's only center of excellence for commercialization and research dedicated to remote sensing innovation in support of northern resource development. And the Centre for Arctic Resource Development, CARD, which is housed here in St. John's, is also unique in Canada. It is the only independent, industry-guided research centre that is focused on addressing challenges that impede safe and sustainable development of Arctic hydrocarbons. Both centres are highly regarded and attract renowned researchers from around the world. Supported by world-class educational and training institutions, Newfoundland and Labrador is poised to respond to the rising demand for innovative technology solutions, information, and highly skilled workers. We are also home to Canada's Oceans University, leading ocean technology education and training, first-rate research and development, and one-of-a-kind infrastructure. For example, in St. John's, the National Research Council houses world-class experts and facilities, such as the offshore engineering basin shown here, that can create waves up to 1 meter high, a 200-meter tow tank, and the longest ice tank in the world. And if you haven't seen, and you have opportunity, you really should take advantage of it. I was absolutely amazed on my very first visit there and made some overtures to go back this morning for a second visit. Local experts have worked with the Canadian Coast Guard to evaluate and test the hull form of Canada's newest polar-class icebreaker. Their results will underpin the creation of Canada's largest, strongest, and most powerful icebreaker to date. And the centrifuge at Seacor is one of the largest centrifuges in the world and the only one in North America that can freeze and thaw test samples to model cold region phenomena, sometimes up to a 20-year cycle. Those are just a few examples of our capabilities here in Newfoundland and Labrador. In collaboration with the National Research Council, BMT Fleet Technology Limited, the American Bureau of Shipping, Samsung Heavy Industries, Rolls-Royce, and Husky Energy, MUN's Dr. Claude Daly is working to design ships and structures for polar regions that can withstand the demanding icy marine conditions of the North. We'll just show you a little video.
Natural frontiers, can we determine whether a vessel or a structure is at risk for ice damage? We're trying to learn the lessons by research instead of having to learn them by error in the field. We're certainly at the leading edge of what's happening in the world. We're setting the agenda for Arctic and ice research.
As you can see, we are incredibly proud and excited about what the future holds and the strong momentum being experienced by our specialized and progressive local companies. Business-led R&D is also rising in Newfoundland and Labrador as industry aims to better understand and prepare for the challenges of harsh operating environments. Newfoundland and Labrador's Research and Development Corporation are stewards in assisting private enterprise in developing and expanding new technologies for the world's harshest environments. Our mature shipping industry and well-established marine and offshore supply and service capabilities have led to the development of a strong, highly capable sector that can meet any level of project development and operational requirement. We are very proud of Newfoundland and Labrador's long and successful history of ocean innovation and of high-quality, next-generation technologies that are developed in the province. We are always ready to tackle new maritime frontiers, and as the world looks northward, ocean technology will play an important role in the future development of the Arctic. As Canada's most easterly province, we are surrounded by the cold water and extreme weather conditions of the North Atlantic Ocean. While we may not be considered in the Arctic, our experts are solving Arctic challenges with innovative solutions based on centuries of experience in Arctic-like conditions. As you can see from the map, the water surrounding Newfoundland and Labrador is colder than anywhere else south of 60 degrees. It is even colder than the waters near Norway, parts of Alaska, Greenland, and Iceland. Our experience, expertise, and geographic location on international shipping lanes and northern sea routes makes us the path to the Arctic and ideal platform for Arctic-related activities. Eric Finstrom, Senior Vice President of Exploration for North America with Statoil Canada, has referred to Newfoundland and Labrador as a real-time Arctic laboratory. With the combination of Newfoundland and Labrador's geographic location, knowledge and expertise of working in cold and harsh environments, industrial infrastructure, educational research and development capacity, and our innovative business community, it is clear that Newfoundland and Labrador is well positioned for future growth. And ladies and gentlemen, we are open for business as the North Atlantic's base of operation for global leaders such as Rolls-Royce, Statoil, ExxonMobil, Schlumberger, Chevron, Shell, Suncor, Technip, Subsea 7, Worley Parsons, and Husky Energy. It is no coincidence that so many multinationals are making Newfoundland and Labrador their North American operation centers. Our undeniable connection to the ocean, combined with the steadfast determination and creativity of our people, has created and nurtured a culture where ocean innovation is deeply ingrained. We have truly embraced the mantra that where there are challenges, there are even greater opportunities. This is where ocean technology expertise has developed and thrived into the world-class cluster we have today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to meeting with many of you over the coming days and sharing in your experience and expertise so that we can all learn and grow together. Good luck with the conference, and I hope to see many of you throughout the week. I especially look forward to welcoming you all back to Newfoundland and Labrador once again, and we have to put a plug in for what else is happening. So I want to welcome you all to come back and participate again in June of 2015 for the Offshore Mechanics and Arctic Engineering Conference, the Marine Advanced Technology Education International ROV Competition, and Newfoundland and Labrador's annual Offshore Oil and Gas Industry Association Conference, followed in the fall of 2016 by the Arctic Technology Conference. Told you, we're the place to be. The world truly is coming to Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome to our world. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to share our experiences with you. Good morning.
Well, thank you, Minister Sullivan. There's certainly a lot happening here, and it makes us proud to be part of this worldwide ocean community. At this point in time, I'd like to invite Drew Michel to come forward and bring greetings. As I indicated in my opening remarks, this conference is a joint activity between the Marine Technology Society and the Ocean Engineering Society of the IEEE. Drew Michel is the president of the Marine Technology Society. And please, Drew, come forward and speak on behalf of MTS.
Thank you, Dwayne. Well, according to Kathy's schedule, I have 3 minutes and 54 seconds. So, and I won't take all of it. First of all, I'd like everyone to remind those members of Marine Technology Society in the audience that this is our annual meeting. We make the Oceans North America Conference each year our annual meeting. So at noon today will be the actual meeting and the final vote on our new officers, so be there if you can. St. John's is such a wonderful place. I've been coming here since the late 1970s. This is my 5th trip, and I will be back for the mate ROV competition next year. The local organizing committee, and especially Kathy, have done such an incredible job here. I don't know how anyone else can beat them. Anyway, I just want to say welcome everyone and have a great time in St. John's. Thank you. Yeah.
And in partnership with the Marine Technology Society, the IEEE's Ocean Engineering Society is represented here today by Mr. René Garello and his French name, I don't know if I pronounced it right. But come on forward, René. Bring greetings on behalf of the OES.
Thank you. Good morning, Minister, Admiral, and ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, my name is René Garello. That's the English way, but it's an Italian name, so in French it's Garello. And I'm proud of being here, and proud of being French as well. As I said to the Minister this morning, France is the closest country to St. John's because there is a small island called Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, and it belongs to France. So I'm the president of the IEEE Oceanic Engineering Society. And IEEE is the largest engineering entity in the world made of volunteers. It's 400 to 500,000 members. We are Oceanic Engineering Society, one of the society of IEEE, and we're a small fraction of that, but we are the best fraction, of course, because the ocean is the largest part of the world. And here you're going to see first, through the exhibit, many applications of devices and techniques able to monitor the ocean and to go to this unknown part of the world. The ocean is, the moon is best known as than the ocean. And so being the tiniest or the smallest fraction of OES and is not really for us a shame. It's a challenge, and going down to the ocean is another challenge. I'm hearing the drilling just behind me, so maybe they are going to get to the bottom someday. We are MTS and IEEE very pleased to have granted the conference to St. John's. St. John's is so a lovely place. It's like my place in Brittany, in France. You don't go through, you go there because you have no way to stop. There, you have, on the contrary, you have to stop there. So I won't take too much time. Cathy set up a schedule with, for me, that was 3:49 and 30 seconds. So I think I'm up and I'm over that. So again, thank you to be here. Thank you to all the local organizing committee to have made this possible. And thank you for the support of all the St. John's environment. Thank you.
Yes, the Oceanic Engineering Society. Thank you, Renee. Another person that we're quite proud to have on our local organizing committee is Mr. Darrell O'Neill. Darrell is with the Department of Innovation, Trade, and Rural Development. And Darrell is going to come forward. No, it's not. I'll get it right yet. Innovation, Business, Rural Development. Sorry about that. And Darrell's going to bring greetings on behalf of the local organizing committee. And as I indicated in my opening remarks, it's Darrell I credit with the initial spark to bring all you fine folk here today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your kind words. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good time at our little soiree last night. We planned it just for you, and it's a little taste of Newfoundland here in St. John's. And we are so glad that MTS and IEEE OES have granted us this conference. And on behalf of the local organizing committee, thank you again and welcome. And thanks to all our patrons and supporters over the years. It's been a long ride, but a great ride. And we're so happy you're here. Enjoy the conference. Have a good week. And thanks again, MTS IEEE. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, now our purpose for being here this morning is we have some fabulous guests who are sitting at the table with me, our plenary speakers. But first of all, let me say that I have a little request for you. For those of you carrying cell phones, put them on a silent mode or on vibrate. Put them in your pockets or in your purses. In other words, run silent, run deep, which is my segue into our first speaker. Our first speaker is Rear Admiral John Newton, and he was appointed commander of the Maritime Forces Atlantic and Joint Task Force Atlantic in July 2013. Rear Admiral Newton began his career in the Canadian Armed Forces in 1983 after an early occupation as a geologist. There. He enrolled as a maritime surface officer after an increased desire for challenge and adventure that he was certain he could find in a career that stretches itself through the shifting tides of the world's active oceans. In his early career as a junior naval officer, he acquired specialist skills in navigation, communications, and operations, and completed tours in the destroyer HMCS Iroquois, the replenishment ship HMCS Preserver, and the frigate HMCS Montreal. Over the years, he has developed a specialty in Canadian maritime sovereignty, gained through countless fishery patrols and 3 Arctic sovereignty missions. While every progression in his career has been enjoyable, one of the Rear Admiral Newton's fondest memories is when he experienced his lifelong dream to patrol the fabled Northwest Passage that Minister Sullivan referred to earlier, while he was commanding officer of the HMCS Fredericton from 2003 until 2006. In the year 2000, he completed a year of joint military studies at the Command and Staff College, Toronto, followed by advanced military studies in 2004. Rear Admiral Newton has served his country on different fronts. He has deployed on NATO missions of the Cold War and UN peace support operations, including the Gulf War in 1991, Haiti in 1993, and the maritime embargo of the former Yugoslavia in 1995. Of note, in 2006, He served at National Defence Headquarters in Ottawa as Director of International Plans in the Strategic Joint Staff, helping to progress files such as the commitment of the Canadian Armed Forces in Afghanistan and the Sudan, amongst others. Beyond professional duties, Rear Admiral Newton focuses strongly on his devoted family. He strives to maintain a balanced work-home life despite the rapid waves of naval responsibilities that consume his time as commander and require his steady leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral John Newton.
All right. Thank you very much, Dwight. It's time to go home and change the biography. I'm sorry we wasted so much of your time hearing about my biography and not talking about what we're really coming here to talk about. And I'm here to talk about the Arctic, the challenge and the opportunity, and I'm most grateful for the opportunity to speak from a military and from a naval perspective, and to have with me some of the colleagues and staff that serve in St. John's, Newfoundland, from the Royal Canadian Navy and the other elements of the Canadian Armed Forces. First, Susan Sullivan, you must be so proud, and indeed as a former petroleum geologist and a maritimer myself, you have every right to be proud in what this province is doing in the maritime, in the oceans, and in the Arctic. It is truly the jumping off location in Canada and really in North America for getting into the Arctic and developing our technologies and dealing with Canadian sovereignty issues. So thank you for the introduction, Dwight, and to all your organizers, to Kathy and the crew, to the societies, the Marine Engineering Society, the Ocean Engineering, the Marine Technology Society, the Ocean Engineering Societies, and for all the candidates who've come from around the world. And when I stepped in last night, I met the men, the scientists from Singapore, and I met companies from Newfoundland, and I met government officials, and it was clear that you've all come here with a great deal of excitement for what you can gain across the networking floor of a great exposition like this. So I won't waste any further time, and I want to dive right into my subject. But I got to tell you right from the get-go that St. John's is very much at the heart of the Canadian story. It is an ocean city, and for the Royal Canadian Navy, it lies on the major trade routes to Europe, to the industrial giant United States. And in World War II, it was from this port that the Royal Canadian Navy, the American Navy, and the British navies sailed forth to meet the wolf packs of the German Navy that were trying to disrupt the flow of commerce to Fortress Britain. That is not a lightweight piece of Canadian history. That is huge and significant and forever put this city and this province on the map of Canada. At the time, it was not part of Canada. So that was only one story of connecting the Royal Canadian Navy to the history of Newfoundland and Labrador. But later, a couple decades later, our country fought another war against the overexploitation of fish stocks, first on the shelf waters, then well out to the 200-mile economic exclusion zone, which was new at the time, and then deeper, most recently into the international waters and beyond the shelves. It is the perverse use of technology by fishers and in giant industries that were catching their quotas and more. They were using technology to map the bottom, the physical oceanography, and the movement of fish stocks until the government, led by our Department of Fisheries and Oceans, the Canadian Coast Guard, but supported every day by the Royal Canadian Navy, brought the full weight of our government's national power and legislative will to bear to prevent the utter and complete destruction of entire fish stocks. In time, technology made visible the great wealth of hydrocarbons off these coasts and up into the Labrador Sea. Their exploitation is now in full swing, with every aspect of ocean technology engaged in one form or another. The harbor is adorned with the most modern ships for deep seabed work on the oil fields and doing exploration into the high Arctic. The great gravity-based structure for the new Hebron oil field is in full development in Bull Arm, not far from this city. I'm the Search and Rescue Commander for the North Atlantic and Eastern Arctic, and I respond danger to the call for help in the North Atlantic that takes its toll on fishermen, merchant seamen, industrial workers, recreational boaters, and airmen and women. I am aided every day by technological solutions in surveillance, data collection and fusion, and information sharing and analysis technologies. I participate as a key partner in bringing the federal government departments together in the MSOC, a world-leading capability and facility, the Marine Security Operations Center with a headquarter in Halifax and a headquarter in Victoria and a third headquarter being built for the Great Lakes. In more traditional duties, my staff and I provide the Coast Guard function alongside the Canadian Coast Guard to our large maritime domain. We work with all our federal partners, supporting a host of legal jurisdictions where the Navy provides the taxi service, command and control, surveillance and communication, helicopters, diving, and remote sensing, to name but a few. But in one area, I am most excited by our prospects going forward as a great maritime nation and as a great Navy. And I'd really like to focus my attention now on the Arctic and provide you with some of my command insights from my duties as the Senior Naval Commander in Eastern Canada, as a Search and Rescue Commander, and as a Joint Task Force Commander when things do go desperately wrong. Susan stole my thunder. But this side-scan sonar image elicits a lot of emotion in Canada and internationally. How could it have remained undiscovered for so long, shrouding the human tragedy of the explorers in a perpetual misery of not fully understanding the circumstances of their demise? It is a clear statement that our Arctic waters are our next frontier. Indeed, the discovery and the means by which the team came together to make the discovery highlights that our nation is poised to develop its full capacity to protect and exploit its sovereignty and pace major changes to human activity in the North. The image depicted here, now famous, is the recently discovered ship of the Franklin expedition. The great cloaking device of the ocean, aided by the extreme weather and the remoteness of the Arctic and the very short navigation season, has kept the secret of the mysterious disappearance of Franklin's expedition hidden for almost 168 years. But now, 6 years into a dedicated Government of Canada search commenced, 6 years after the dedicated search commenced, a far more powerful team is in place. It is fully supported by the Prime Minister, or the head of our government. It is led by Parks Canada, involving the Canadian Hydrographic Service, the Canadian Ice Service, the Canadian Coast Guard, the Royal Canadian Navy, the government of Nunavut, and private interests such as Jim Balsillie, formerly of Research in Motion, who brought us the Blackberry, but an honorary captain in the Royal Canadian Navy, the Royal Canadian Geographic Society, the Arctic Research Foundation, the Weston Foundation, and Shell Canada, and many others, many of them industry, and some of them here today, finally allowed a part of this great mystery to be unveiled. And a result of this amazing discovery and the work that still lies ahead, we are ensuring that this defining moment in Canada and exploration history will be given a legacy connecting the hearts and minds of Canadians to a stronger, deeper understanding of the very essence of our great country, the very important role played in the past, and the vital role the Arctic will continue to play in our nation's future. Indeed, what John Franklin and his men were doing with the technology of their day was what everybody in this room, continues to strive to do today. We are all explorers of the world's oceans. All here in this great hall inherently understand that the ocean delivers us great wealth. It hides great wealth. It hazards our journeys when not understood and respected. It provides us the most economical routes to fuel the globalized economic engine. The ocean moderates our climate and delivers us the extremes of weather and the most enjoyable aspects of recreation and tourism. And for all the good we gain from the global commons, they can be used with malice for smuggling drugs, transporting waves of displaced peoples, disrupting our shipping, polluting our coasts, and killing our fishing stocks, and risking some of the most pristine and pure ecological preserves left on this pressure-cooked planet. And sadly, they can be used in conflict. So in our relentless search, and the somewhat surprising discovery of Franklin's lost ship, in what some experts are calling the biggest archaeological discovery since the world has seen since the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb almost 100 years ago, we are demonstrating Canada's ability to protect and preserve its sovereign lands and waters. In our efforts, we are introducing new technologies to the Arctic waters, overcoming daunting logistical and deployment challenges, and forging multi-agency partnerships that will propel new discovery to the Arctic environment itself. It will reveal the hydrography of the shipping channels. It will inform our understanding of the migration of sensitive wildlife. It'll help us understand the fragile ecosystems and help uncover some of the hidden seabed resources of the far north. It is amazing, in my mind, that Canadian technologies such as the Arctic Explorer, autonomous underwater vehicle built by International Submarine Engineering of Vancouver, with a sonar from Kraken Sonars from right here in St. John's, Newfoundland, enabled by the scientific resources and deployment expertise of Research and Development Canada and their lab in Halifax, is able to deploy and operate this large autonomous vehicle, which joined the search this year for Franklin's expedition. Nothing about this deployment was easy or straightforward, but vast areas of the seabed have now been precisely mapped and new shipping channels confirmed as a result of searching for the wrecks. And the effort proved the technology is ready for operations in the most difficult ocean areas in Canada. And aboard this privately financed research ship, the Martin Bergman, a stout fishing vessel from these waters in Newfoundland, purchased by Jim Balsillie, crewed by a mixed assortment of government workers, scientists, privately funded civilian crews, and naval specialists. They all joined forces and are annually sweeping the seabed for wrecks, for the remaining wreck now in the high Arctic. They have mapped thousands of line miles of the seabed, some far too shallow for larger icebreakers, and most far too rough for small survey launches. They're providing sky-scanning sonar technologies and adapting whatever they can get into the Arctic aboard this ship to the cold water environment. It is one of the very few dedicated research ships that overwinters in Canada's north and can commence surveying annually well before the out-of-area ships are able to penetrate into the deep archipelago. And this year, a Canadian Navy patrol ship, HMCS Kingston, was loaded with science and survey equipment and was in all respects ready to join the Franklin search as another element of the Canadian Armed Forces' support to the search mission. And despite having dedicated icebreaker support, Kingston was turned back by heavy pack ice at Bellot Strait, proving that the changes in the Arctic ice regime are anything but linear and far from what are being reported. Transferring survey equipment to heavier ships that were able to penetrate to the search area, Kingston's mission in the north was not a washout. A specially designed and adapted hydrographic survey sounder was mounted on the ship's side prior to the boat's deployment, and Kingston went on to execute Plan B, surveying the navigation channels leading to the shipping terminus for the Mary River ore mine at Milne Inlet on northern Baffin Island. Very large, ice-capable, all-year bulk carriers will soon start exporting some of the purest iron ore on the planet with a life expectancy of the mine in the 50 to 90 years time range. It is important for the Government of Canada and for Canada's sovereign responsibilities that we have these shipping channels fully mapped before the shipping season starts next year. And we've been participating in this effort with our hydrographic survey partners for some time. But in the very near future, our Navy will not be turned back by the summer pack ice of the Arctic archipelago. Indeed, the Royal Canadian Navy will soon receive ships of the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship Project. These purpose-built ships for Canada's north, for operation in the ice-infested waters of the Newfoundland offshore, the Labrador Sea, and the Gulf of St. Lawrence, will soon propel our Navy on a whole new course of employment both nationally and internationally. Taking delivery of the first of these ships in 2018 will be a significant addition to the Canadian fleet, able to contribute to the accomplishment of Canada's sovereign responsibilities and duty in the north. The ships will augment the hard-pressed medium and heavy icebreakers of the Canadian Coast Guard, enjoying fisheries, patrol, and science ships of our Department of Fisheries and Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard. In a country already renowned for the collaboration of the federal departments in the maritime domain, there is no doubt in my mind that the class will provide the country a significant step and capability leap forward. They will provide provide us the seasonal presence across vast ocean areas to survey our jurisdictions, deter criminality and illegal acts, and assert the rule of law in support of any of our government's primary legal jurisdictions. Moreover, the capacity and mobility of the ships is such that they will host specialty teams, provide communications for command and control of a broad array of consequence management scenarios in Canada's most remote areas. The mission sets are constabulary, but contribute first and foremost to the precepts of the Canada First Defence Strategy. Like all ships of the Navy, they contribute, receive, and process vital sensor and remote sensing information that creates maritime domain awareness for the Canadian government. The patrols will investigate events unfolding in our waters and will deter illegal activities and unwanted guests. The presence of purpose-built and Arctic-capable ships will enhance the Navy's ability to support maritime security partners in policing, border security, the Canadian Coast Guard function, and environmental stewardship. The ships will become a platform of choice for scientific discovery and multi-agency missions in the North, especially those advancing defense priorities. The Navy will adopt a far greater role interacting with communities and contributing to the social well-being of the country. We'll be better prepared to push humanitarian aid and disaster relief efforts into the North, and as human activities increase, pace changes in the ice regime, we can expect the frequency of search and rescue to increase. So the ships will position us to be more responsive at the very moment where we might be witnessing increased risk scenarios with cruise ships and merchant traffic exploring new routes to the North. Finally, the ships will be suited to act as command and control platform for major contingency response in remote areas of Canada's North, as was exercised during exercise or Operation Nanook 14 in Frobisher Bay this past summer, just mere weeks ago, where a major shipping disaster was exercised. And I don't think it requires to be pointed out to anybody here in this room that patrols of this ship in the North will call on ports, those ships will call on ports in St. John's and St. Anthony regularly as their key jumping off ports into Canada's North. And and on the more traditional areas of continental defense and security with our partners in the United States and other circumpolar allies, the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship is a critical node, again, for the maritime awareness that supports the North American Aerospace Defense Command. It declutters the northern shipping picture, which we use in anti-submarine warfare. And it allows us to support the Army with northern logistics and the Royal Canadian Air Force with fueling and a lily pad opportunity for helicopters to operate in remote areas. We will become a maritime connector using these 6 to 8 ships, and we'll be well positioned for any of the consequence management scenarios we can envisage. So, in our mind, the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship is an effective design. It compromises in many areas the pure requirements of an icebreaker and the pure requirements of an offshore patrol ship. But it is optimized for the Arctic and the offshore. It's of extremely long range, it's economical and versatile. It is being built to commercial standards, held to the specifications of a renowned classification society, and maintained by an in-service support contract. Indeed, industry can potentially expect in-service training and in-service logistics components to the project. Here are some of the more specific details of the size, speed, range, communications and control, and armaments. It's a big ship. I don't think people understand, and the critics surely don't understand, it is a very large, Arctic-capable, long-range patrol ship for the Royal Canadian Navy and the Government of Canada. Its boats, landing craft, and helicopter capabilities will provide the sea-to-shore connectors so required in the Arctic, where there are no wharves and port facilities whatsoever. And to be clear, again, it's a dramatically larger ship than our former icebreaker, HMCS Labrador, which was key to opening up Canada's North during the Cold War. is far more versatile, multi-rolled, long range, heavier helicopter capacity, and with far greater command and control capabilities to integrate the effect of a ship, its class, with our headquarters ashore and with our allies in a very multi-domain and multidisciplinary approach to northern sovereignty. And the ship delivers with a modest investment in a shore-based infrastructure facility in the north. We're exploiting the former pierhead at the now closed Nanisivik mine site on northern Baffin Island with a small warehouse facility, laydown for heavy equipment, an emergency accommodation block, and a fuel capacity for 4 months of navigation fuel for the navigation season, and the minimal requirements for security. The airhead is a recently modernized strip 20 miles distant at the small community of Arctic Bay. And the timelines for the project are here. They are here now. On the red dot, you can see where we are in the time scale. And final project of design comes in the spring of 2015, and the ships will cut steel in the late autumn of 2015 as the first test module is pushed through the new Ultra construction hall at Irving Shipbuilding in Halifax. That hall is built. The giant shipbuilding industry necessary to sustain the national shipbuilding procurement strategy on the east coast of Canada is in full construction and development mode. This isn't a vague political promise. It's outside my windows. I look down into the strategic partnership of Lockheed Martin and Irving, which are presently completing the work on the Halifax-class modernization and are poised to start new partnerships with the Navy in delivering the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship. A pace of development of new classes of Arctic-capable ships for the Navy. There are science and technology initiatives by our country and by our defense research and development colleagues. 3 Arctic sites are noteworthy from a Canadian Armed Forces perspective, including the Canadian Forces Station at Alert, at the last land before the North Pole, where Defense and National Resource Council scientists have worked industriously to advance this country's shelf mapping claims. At Gascoyne Inlet on the eastern end of the Northwest Passage, defense scientists in partnership with the Chief of Force Development, Joint Task Force North, Joint Task Force Atlantic, and the Navy are demonstrating capabilities that will contribute to above and underwater remote sensing autonomously 365 days of the year, 24/7 of the waters and what's underneath them along the Northwest Passage. This technology demonstration project is not necessarily the site for future surveillance systems in the north, but it is the proving ground for the technologies we can rapidly or deliberately install in the key choke points of the northern passages. Finally, at Resolute Bay, just a little bit further along the Northwest Passage, the High Arctic Training Center permits several defense thrusts to be advanced, including training the Canadian Armed Forces for operations in the high Arctic conditions, testing our mobility, staging material to the north, and acting as a jump-off point for higher latitude forays, and acting as a permanent logistics hub above all. At these various sites, a choke point surveillance system, including an underwater array, radar, electronic warfare, and electro-optical sensors will be trialed, with data linking the information back to a headquarters in Halifax, most likely. And in other scientific endeavors, Arctic energy solutions will be trialed, and our broader-based situational awareness concept will be evaluated underwater and using under-ice autonomous vehicles. We're also looking at developing mission-critical communications, which are interoperable across the entire Canadian Armed Forces and government forces, which address some of the major communication and data link shortfalls that the North currently experiences. And in one area of significant potential for industry, academia, and other government department collaborators to work together is at the new Canadian High Arctic Research Station in Cambridge Bay. And there is an opportunity here in the Western Arctic to work to improve the effectiveness, endurance, and reliability of both fixed underwater observing systems as well as unmanned underwater vehicles that do not require real-time input from our operators. Technology development will focus on the positioning of mobile ocean surveillance technologies in an under-ice environment, launch and recovery of these systems through ice, and power supply and equipment durability. In closing, the Navy is advancing quickly its ability to operate in the North through the construction and delivery of the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship. We're now in the business of forming lasting partnerships and mission tasks with our government department colleagues, other government department colleagues. We are active in hydrography and fisheries protection in the North, being one of the lead agencies for the provision of maritime domain awareness, and collaborating with the delivering of our Air Force and Army effects to the broad land reaches and the airspaces of the North. It is easy to imagine industry collaboration on a host of fronts. In this chart depicting industry partnerships on the y-axis from the Canadian Armed Forces developing the technologies by itself at the base of the axis to the industry doing it itself on the top of the axis, to looking at the x-axis which is the maturity of the system, you can see that there's a wide range of time and space and activities to be taken advantage of by industry and government scientists. Certainly, the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship, which starts delivering in 2017, will need considerable work to develop the systems required for its mission packages, its boats, its communications, headquarters capabilities, and Arctic specialized equipment, to name but a few. But we're also in the Navy, from a mine warfare, route survey, and bottom object investigation point of view, very, very interested in autonomous underwater vehicles, Arctic communications, and the difficulties we have commanding and controlling forces right up through the ice cap to the North Pole. I wish the Oceans14 conference and all of you here success in your endeavors, and I hope that you appreciate the contribution of a naval officer as one of the government representatives who shares in your vision of opening up the Arctic and exploring the great hidden treasures of resources, culture, and environmental awareness that beckons. These oceans are a vital aspect of Canada's physical geography, its national psyche, and sovereign obligations. And none more so than our Arctic waters stimulate our collective national interest for their purity, their beauty, and the rich inheritance. I appreciate very much your attention this morning and look forward to hearing our other panels speak and looking forward to the questions you might have. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rear Admiral Newton. No doubt the Arctic holds some fascinating stories, and thank you for making us aware of those, but also the opportunities that arise there as we continue operations in what is obviously a very harsh environment. Our next speaker this morning is Ms. Christine Healy. Christine Healy is the Vice President for North America in Business Development for Statoil. She's responsible for commercial and negotiation activities related to Statoil's oil and gas in North America, both offshore and onshore. And this includes accessing new opportunities, negotiating with partners and potential partners, working with regulators and governments, pursuing business development, managing Statoil's land holdings, and assessing Statoil's opportunities in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. From 2010 to 2012, Christine was the head of commercial affairs for Statoil Canada's offshore operations. Prior to joining Statoil, Christine led an interdisciplinary negotiation team negotiating fiscal benefits and equity terms for offshore oil developments on behalf of the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. Prior to working for government, Christine worked in private legal practice in Newfoundland and Labrador, Ontario, and Alberta. Christine was named one of Canada's top 40 under 40 for 2009 and received the 2010 Newfoundland and Labrador Public Service Award of Excellence. Christine is a member of the Law Society of Newfoundland and Labrador and Association of International Petroleum Negotiators, and is a past president of the Newfoundland and Labrador branch of the Canadian Bar Association. Christine is a native Newfoundlander who currently works in Houston, Texas, and she lives there with her husband and 2 children. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Christine Healy.
I'm going to bring some water. This talking can be thirsty work. So thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's excellent to be home. I've heard a lot of stories this morning about what was apparently what we call here in Newfoundland a time last night. Having a time. It sounds like it was a good party. And I'm glad to hear that you're getting to enjoy all of the things that Newfoundland has to offer. I'd like to thank Dwight for the kind introduction, but also thank you to the organizers of the committee for this conference. I think it's interesting that you've put together 3 speakers with very different perspectives on the ocean resource. And I think that's important, and that's a little bit what I want to talk about today. I will start off by saying I was intrigued by the invitation. The conference is called Oceans, which seemed to me to be a very broad topic. And so I went back and I said, well, that's interesting, but what would you like me to talk about with respect to oceans? And then it was followed up by, well, the theme for the conference is where challenges become opportunities. And I thought that that was fairly ironic because it took the already large topic of oceans and made it bigger. So put a few challenges in front of me as a speaker. And I'm going to challenge you even further in my talk today because I want to challenge you to think beyond the technology challenges presented by oceans. And I want to stop for a minute and think about the larger issues that come from having very different ideas in society about how we should use the oceans, and very different perceptions in the world about the need to make economic use of the ocean resource. So along with those challenges, then I'm going to suggest to you we have a few things to think about together. First of all, of course, we have multiple stakeholders. We have fisheries users, we have security concerns, we have environmental concerns, tourism, oil and gas, potentially competing users, potentially competing points of view. And layer on top of that, then we have operational challenges that many of us in this room know quite a bit about: wind, waves, corrosion, fog, those pesky icebergs. And then layer on top of that, geopolitics, security, safety. There's no shortage of challenges. If even some of those challenges can be turned into opportunity, then I think we're in business. So I'm here on behalf of Statoil, an oil and gas company, and before I go any further, I should probably just give you a little summary of the company I work for. I guess in many ways I'm representative of the oil and gas sector, but Statoil is the world's largest operator in waters deeper than 100 meters, so the ocean is a big part of our business. We are a technology-focused company, and I'll talk a bit more about that. We have about 23,000 employees, and we have operations in 36 countries. Many of you know Statoil as a Norwegian-based company. Our head office is in Norway, and we have 40 years of experience on the Norwegian continental shelf that we are in the process of bringing global. But the Norwegian heritage of our company is important because we have a very strong commitment as a corporation to accommodating the world's energy needs, but in a responsible manner. And we see that technology is a key piece of that delivery. And on this slide, I can't talk about Statoil without talking about our values: open, courageous, hands-on, and caring. It's a tall order, but that is how we operate, and that's how we do business. And you can see there that layered on top of that, our very top delivery is that health, safety, and the environment is the first priority in everything that we do. So as you can see, it's perhaps a parallel to some of these challenges I was talking about when I started, that we have a lot of competing goals, and it's difficult to figure out how to balance all of these in a way that makes sense. But these core values ground everything that we do, and we have decided as a company that when there's a conflict between these core values and the activity we're thinking about, then the values win 100% of the time. So I want to zoom out for a minute, and I'll tell you all a little secret that up until yesterday, this slide was not part of the slide deck. But I wanted to talk today about the challenges, so I went to our chief economist in Norway and asked him if he could help me out. And he's put together slides for me, and I will confess to you that prior to being a lawyer, I was an economist, so I love charts like this. So you'll have to bear with me a little bit, but I promise there's a payoff if you can just stick with me for a few minutes. The headline here is important. World energy demand continues. So globally, there's a lot of different dialogues going on around energy. And I spent last week in Europe, and I was fascinated that in Europe, there's a very big focus on climate change and the need to amend our energy-using ways, which, frankly, that dialogue is not at the same level in North America and in other parts of the world where I get to travel. So it was interesting to me because it's central to a lot of the conversation that's happening in Europe. But let's just zoom out then and then talk about this energy demand. So, you know, I work in the oil and gas industry, so this is obviously, it's on my mind a fair bit of the time. So these slides are meant to show global oil demand on the left and global gas demand on the right. And the very colorful, nicely done part in the background, that's Statoil's view of what's going to happen. And you see that we see an increasing global oil demand through to 2040 and an increasing global gas demand to 2040. And the different colors are different parts of the world that we think might supply that demand. But you'll see then some dots that are in there as well. And those represent two scenarios. And scenario thinking is very big in the oil and gas industry. I think it's very big in a lot of industries. But the idea here is that we thought, well, let's think through if we have a low carbon future, if a lot of these things that we're talking about in Europe, about improving our efficiency, decreasing our reliance on energy sources, then maybe we will have this low carbon alternative, which is these gray dots. But you'll see those gray dots continue to increase our demand over this time period. And similarly, these black dots represent a scenario that we've been talking about, which is we've dubbed in Statoil policy paralysis, which represents a scenario where we don't figure out the climate change issue internationally, and in fact, governments sort of go their own way and do their own thing. So we're looking at all these three, and we don't think that, you know, and the whole point of scenario discussions is that none is more likely than another. It's just testing out what would happen if. But we see in each of these scenarios that through to 2030, even into 2040, there is a continuing increase in demand for both oil and gas. And it gets a little bit more interesting then. Very provocative headline from our chief economist, especially in European audiences. But I think in this room, probably not as provocative, but that fossil fuels are here to stay. You can see in that magenta sort of color on the left, 2012, 15, 20, and 2035. The magenta is if all of our existing oil production continues and we continue to apply technologies and we get the most out of all of these fields globally, this is what happens to what we're producing right now. As we use it up, obviously, it declines. So you can see the gray on top of that is what we're going to need in terms of extra production to meet that demand that I just talked about on the previous slide. So this is Statoil's view of the world, but then we thought, well, you know, Statoil's view of the world might not be as compelling to everyone as it is to us. So on the right-hand side, then we look to an external source, and this is the International Energy Agency, and they talk about cumulative global production of oil and gas predicted out to 2035. And you can see that the NP scenario is what they refer to as the new policies, which assumes that every country in the world makes commitments to greening and meets those commitments over this time frame. Even in that scenario, quite a gap between what we have and what we need. And then the 450 scenario assumes that we make even greater commitments as a global community to the environment. and we decrease emissions even further. But you can see even in that stretch scenario of the 450, the global demand for oil and gas continues to climb. So for those of us working in the oil and gas industry, I think that's a good opportunity. And part of the way that we're going to answer that that challenge, though, that we have increasing demand, but at the same time, we want to decrease emissions. The key to solving that is going to be found, at least in part, in technology. And for Statoil, it has been a 40-year path of continuous offshore technology development. And I love that we put a slide together that makes it look like a very organized staircase of innovation and invention over time. Of course, it only looks like an organized staircase when you look backwards. When you're actually in it, it doesn't feel quite so stepwise progression and logical. But the point is that as a company, we have seen that by investing in technology, there are benefits to be harvested in future years, but it requires a bit of a long-term view, and it requires a very open-minded way of thinking about how we do the things that we do right now. So you can see on this chart, and I'm pressed for time, so I'm not going to take us through it all, but we have some developments, particularly on the Norwegian continental shelf, like Åsgard and Snøhvit, where we've developed new ways of producing global resources. And we're looking now forward again to other new ways of developing these resources. And that's where we see cooperation with other industry partners, with research institutions, with universities, is the key to developing these new technologies that we're going to need. Which takes us to the idea of investing in research and development. And for us, that's not just a global picture, but it has to be also a local picture. And we do, in Newfoundland and Labrador, invest directly in research and development, particularly for ocean technologies applicable to this area. We have a strong local R&D team, and we collaborate with RDC and with Memorial University. Investing in local R&D and education we view as critical to achieving our goals for Newfoundland and Labrador. And our focus areas here are in remote sensing, ice detection, and subsea processing technologies. So it's important because many of you are from St. John's, I know, but many of you are visiting. Oil and gas is a core part of the Newfoundland and Labrador economy. It is a very significant engine and economic driver. This place is very different post-oil than it was before oil was discovered off our shores. And we've seen that over time, the industry has matured locally. I really enjoyed Minister Sullivan's characterization of the world's cold ocean laboratory. I think I'm going to steal that and use it again. But I think it's very true. I see the opportunities here in Newfoundland is that it gives us an opportunity to do a lot of cutting-edge research that will help us get safer and more effective and better at what we do, which obviously is always the goal. The slide says it all. The Newfoundland and Labrador economy has been transformed as a result of oil and gas. Certainly that's the experience of many of us in the room. More than 6,000 people are directly employed in the oil and gas industry locally, and 90% of the workforce is from Newfoundland and Labrador. It has been a phenomenal story for Newfoundland and Labrador, and the story we would like to think as an industry is just beginning. Which takes us a little bit to some of the future opportunities. Some of you may be aware, but Statoil has been a very active explorer for oil and gas offshore Newfoundland for many years. And last year, we announced the world's largest oil discovery, and it was offshore Newfoundland, the Bay du Nord discovery. More important even than the size and scope of the oil discovery was that it opens up a new basin offshore Newfoundland. All of our production to date has been from the Jeanne d'Arc Basin. This opens up the Flemish Pass Basin, a new potential launching point for another new chapter in the Newfoundland offshore energy story. So we've been shooting seismic there through the summer. We will be drilling there starting later on this fall in order to appraise our discovery. But we do see that there's great opportunity potentially to be unlocked in the shores here offshore Newfoundland. we've had a quick look then about the fact that we have global rising energy demand. We have a need as a society to reduce our carbon footprint, to find better solutions. We have a driving need for safety and for security. We have issues of sovereignty. We have all of these competing goals and objectives, all linked back to this massive topic of oceans. So it's going to take a lot to solve this. And I would suggest to you, perhaps provocatively, that technology is not the only answer. There are multiple stakeholders and competing and different ideas about how oceans fit into this global energy challenge. And the key to solving that is complicated, but at the same time very simple. And it's about communication and cooperation and collaboration. I'll point out to you, some of you may be aware, there's a model here in Newfoundland that has been copied in other parts of the world. The model is called One Ocean, but it is a forum where industry and fisheries and other stakeholder representatives come together to talk about mutual issues of concern. Through technical committees, it brings together technical expertise for common concerns, and the board brings together decision makers to ensure that we are at least talking to one another. At the same time, while a very positive initiative, it can't be the only initiative. There needs to be dialogue around the issues that are of common concern. And there needs to be clear and open and direct communication. And that dialogue, we all talk about dialogue a lot, but it means not only talking, but listening and then acting. So I can reflect to you, I have a 12-year-old son who is wildly interested in history these days. And he comes home from school and he tells me, Mom, history is so exciting because there are all these big battles and all these big fights. And, you know, there's winners and there's losers. And he's so fired up about world history and American history, and he's loving it. But the challenge is, all of that stuff makes for really great movies and probably really great 8th grade classrooms. But it's not how we have to deal with the challenges in front of us. For those of us in business, in industry, in academia, we have to find solutions, and we have to find them through talking to one another. And that doesn't make for a really great movie script, and it doesn't make for a really great story for 12-year-old boys, but it is the reality that we are living in, and it is a very daunting challenge. So, and we have, it's a big challenge, it's a big responsibility, but it is a big opportunity. So what does that mean for oceans? It means we have to be willing to work, and we have to be willing to work together. It means that forums like this are important, and they need to be supported. It means we have to avoid characterizing uses or competing uses of the ocean in shorthanded ways, good or bad or naive or whatever. It means that we have to come to the dialogue wanting to find a solution, not just restating our own desires in louder and more strident voices. So I'll close by saying I'm a business person and I negotiate for a living. So maybe my experience set is a little different on this, but if I can leave you with one final thought, it's that our relationships with one another as potential users of the oceans are not going away. If anything, they are only growing more complex and more challenging over time. So we have two options open to us. We can get our elbows up, to use the classic Canadian phrase in hockey. We can get our elbows up and we can start scrabbling with one another and we can fight it out. But I'm more interested in the alternative path, that instead we roll up our sleeves and we get working together. Thank you for your time.
Very well done indeed. We do have to consider other points of view as we're looking at how we use the oceans. And thank you for pointing that out to us, Christine. I do appreciate that. Our third speaker this morning is Mr. Terry Lindstrom. Terry is the General Manager of the National Research Council's Ocean, Coastal, and River Engineering portfolio. From 2004 until 2012, he served as Executive Director of the NRC's Design and Fabrication Services, where he led the engineering, design, and manufacturing of research apparatus and experimental prototypes in support of the National Research Council's research efforts. Prior to his tenure as Executive Director, Mr. Lindstrom served as Group Leader for Capacity and Resource Planning at the Design and Fabrication Services for 6 years, where he contributed to the introduction and growth of project management principles and procedures within a research prototyping environment. From 1987 to 1997, he worked at the National Research Council's Institute for Ocean Technology in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, where he held positions of increasing responsibility and capacities ranging from technical design and applied research through to research facility management. Before joining the NRC, Mr. Lindstrom held the position of hull technologist with St. John Shipbuilding in New Brunswick for 2 years as part of the then Canadian Patrol Frigate Program and Nordco Limited. Terry received a Diploma of Technology in Naval Architecture from the Fisheries and Marine Institute of Memorial University in Newfoundland and Labrador in 1983, and his Master's Business Administration from the University of Ottawa in 2003. While with IoT, Mr. Lindstrom authored and co-authored several technical papers on ice interaction of various hull forms, as well as submarine subsail surfacing. He is an alumnus of the NRC Lead Executive Challenge Program as of 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Terry Lindstrom.
Good morning. First of all, thank you, Dwight. On behalf of the National Research Council, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Oceans14. I was honored to be asked to present today, and it gives me great pride to welcome you to my hometown. I would like to thank the Oceans Organizing Committee, particularly Darrell and Kathy and their team, put together what appears to be going to be a great event. In advance of the dedication and planning, that will be a tremendous opportunity for us to share ideas, network, and develop new partnerships, and collaborate to advance our research and expedite innovation. These are exciting times for ocean engineering and marine technology. With commercial interest in Arctic exploration at a record high, increasing demand for renewable energy, and conservation groups campaigning for the safeguarding of marine ecological integrity, Oceans14 will unquestionably be the place where challenge becomes opportunity. I really like this call to action, where challenge becomes opportunity, because it captures the essence of the mission of the National Research Council of Canada. At NRC, we work with our clients and partners to solve their research and technical challenges and transition them into commercial opportunities on a daily basis. In our effort to be the most effective research and technology organization in the world, we rely on expertise of our outstanding people, 3,500 strong, our world-class facilities and infrastructure, and the innovation and enterprise of people like you, our collaborators, to help turn ideas and challenges into new products, processes, and opportunities that create real value for our country. With locations in every province across Canada, we are coast to coast with a worldwide reach. We have proudly served Canadians, collaborators, and clients for close to 100 years, delivering innovation support, strategic R&D, as well as scientific and technical services that achieve results and have lasting impact. We are ready to extend to you our experience with emerging technologies, life sciences, and engineering. These three research divisions help small and medium enterprises succeed globally with outcome-oriented research and technology development that will have quantifiable results for Canada. Our technical and advisory services help small and large enterprises overcome workforce constraints and limited resources, accelerating design cycles and helping to identify and overcome product performance limits. Our experienced professionals help clients solve their immediate technical problems, and our specialized services range from testing and certifications to calibrations, prototyping, demonstrations, scale-up, and consulting. Over the decades, NRC researchers and scientists have developed world-renowned breakthroughs like the pacemaker, the Canadarm, and the world's first civil jet flight powered by 100% biofuel. Canola oil was developed by NRC and is now a $6 billion industry. The longevity of our organization and our world-changing innovations are a true testament to the quality of the work we perform and the rigor with which we test and evaluate. NRC is open for business. The NRC's ocean, coastal, and river engineering portfolio is also open for business. With the largest coastline in the world, nearly a quarter of Canadian population lives in coastal regions, and marine industries support tens of thousands of direct jobs. Our geography, our development, and national identity has been shaped in part by our 3 bordering oceans. As General Manager of the Ocean, Coastal, and River Engineering portfolio within the NRC's Engineering Division, I know our future economic development relies on how effectively we utilize and manage these precious water resources. Water, in the smallest streams or the largest ocean, is an integral part of our planet and our future growth and economic prosperity here in Canada. For many Canadians, the water is where we live, where we play, and where we earn. Through my portfolio, NRC offers experienced professionals backed by world-class test facilities, as well as numerical and physical modeling and field capabilities to arrive at technology solutions that give Canadian industry an international market advantage. We have partnered with industry on a number of high-profile engineering and physical modeling projects in Panama, Brazil, Costa Rica, and Israel, to name a few. Our work shapes real engineering projects at home and abroad, and our clients truly value the input we provide, our strong market focus, and our sound business principles. An example of this is our work with Baird & Associates, it's laid out here in this slide, on a $145 million Port de Orla project in Madagascar. This project was completed on time and under budget in 2009, winning the 2010 American Society of Civil Engineering Large Project of Excellence. You can see by the image on the right is actually a model simulation in one of our test labs, and then you can see the actual piers and breakwaters actually built in Madagascar. So it's taking ideas from the concept all the way to delivery to help with some of the new innovation works that are required in the oceans. Perhaps more importantly than the accolades is the fact that the port has become a cornerstone for expanding regional economy. Each project is unique and raises particular challenges that require creative solutions to new and unforeseen engineering challenges. Our outcome-oriented approach promotes the transition of ocean engineering and marine technology to industry. We provide performance-based outcomes using our comprehensive and state-of-the-art test facilities and full-scale field trial capabilities. We have coastal, multi-directional, and offshore engineering wave basins, specialized flumes, tow tanks, thermal laboratories, design and fabrication facilities for models and precision instrumentation, not to mention, as it was earlier, the world's longest ice tank at our facilities located right here in St. John's. Work with our facilities in Ottawa and St. John's can de-risk your project and deliver accurate and reliable solutions. At NRC, we capitalize on our investment in world-class infrastructure by creating an enviable research culture to continue our legacy of attracting exceptional researchers. Our experts look to improve the performance and safety of our marine operations, meet the challenges of climate change, and protect infrastructure, property, and people from severe weather events and other environmental risks. These experts in harsh environments characterized by ice, waves, wind, and cold temperatures lend itself to our marine industries as we explore natural resources in extreme environments, increased international trade, and seek to harness nature's power. When you work with NRC, you employ a suite of results-driven scientists, engineers, and technologists with boundless networks and knowledge exchange opportunities. The Ocean, Coastal, and River Engineering portfolio merges industry-led interests with our expertise in harsh environment and world-class infrastructure to deliver market-driven ocean engineering and marine technology research that focuses on improving the design of marine vehicles while lowering the risk and costs associated with their operations, providing engineering solutions for Arctic challenges to ensure the sustainable, low-impact development of the North while increasing the quality of life for Northerners, and improving marine infrastructure, managing water resources, and developing marine renewable energy technologies that solve complex water issues. It gives me great pleasure to announce here today the official launch of the National Research Council Marine Vehicles Program. Our Marine Vehicles Program will endeavor to improve the operational performance in harsh conditions and reduce the risk and cost of using our oceans highways to facilitate economic activity and trade, and further establish our engagement in international affairs with the Arctic. The NRC will invest $8 million into this initiative over the next 5 years. NRC will undertake partnerships with industry, other government departments, and stakeholders over the course of the program, and it is estimated that the total attributable economic impact of the 5-year program will be on the order of $70 million. The program will deliver specialized advanced control technologies, vessel performance monitoring and analysis systems, Arctic station keeping technologies, training simulator developments, along with design and performance evaluation of vessels. It is expected there will be continued economic benefits in the form of reduced costs to oil and gas operators, vessels owners, and Canadians. Environmental benefits will accrue as improved technologies and operations lead to reduced exhaust emissions. I would like to extend our congratulations to Fraser Windsor, who's sitting here in the audience this morning. He's our program leader for taking the helm, as it were, for this exciting new marine vehicles research program within the Oceans, Coastal River Engineering. Fraser, if you want to stand up and just let everybody see your face. As commercial interests push north, consideration must be given to how efficiently, safely, and sustainably adaptive to new boundaries. Our Arctic program, officially launched last month by the Prime Minister, integrates industrial development with the needs of northern communities while advancing Canada's northern strategy. We are currently developing solutions for community housing, sustainable resource development, effective transportation onshore and offshore, and marine safety technologies that enhance the performance of life-saving appliances. For Canadians, water is a resource we enjoy in abundance, without thought for the paradoxical fragility of the power. Our marine infrastructure, energy, and water resources capabilities address improving the efficiency of water resources use and energy extraction while reducing the risk associated with inland and coastal waters. Our experts are assessing, optimizing, and validating infrastructure design to de-risk, improve performance, and minimize costs. We are focused on developing new computer-based technologies to mitigate flood risk, improve the productivity, management, and stewardship of inland waters, resources, and deliver R&D to improve wave and hydrokinetic energy technologies. Our work at NRC is where challenge becomes opportunity. The decision to collaborate with NRC means that you have made the choice to see your idea come to fruition. Our multidisciplinary approach provides a competitive advantage that removes stumbling blocks and bridges the gap between innovation and commercialization to keep your business moving forward. Our clients include startups, technology innovators, and global industry leaders. Through one point of contact, our clients have access to state-of-the-art facilities for virtually all of their needs. We play a critical role for our clients in de-risking and demonstrating technologies and reducing life cycles. NRC has become a world-leading research and technology organization due to focus on end-user fulfillment, believing in the potential of an idea in its early stages, and anticipating the drivers for industrial change. We are the hub for Canadian science and technology with almost a century of proven innovation. The Oceans14 Organizing Committee has lined up an exciting event for us, and I'm looking forward to make connections and be inspired by the innovation sparked from our shared interest. Please come introduce yourselves to us at booth 94 later today if you wish. Fraser will be there and I'll be there. And in closing, I just want to say St. John's is a beautiful city with hospitality, as most of you partook in last night, that is second to none, in my biased opinion. And I wish you all a pleasant and productive stay. And as we Newfoundlanders say, long may your big jib draw. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Terry, for that overview of the research community and the research opportunities here in not just Newfoundland and Labrador, but also right across the whole country in Canada. Well, over the last little while, you've had an introduction to what I think is the core theme for our conference this week. And we know that we all have a vested interest and a shared responsibility for the oceans. We know that quite often those oceans are difficult to work in, difficult to play in. But it's those very difficulties and challenges that also provide us with the opportunities. There's opportunity for scientific investigation, opportunity for commercial exploitation. I want you to think about those opportunities over the next few days as you take part in the conference. We have over 350 technical papers for you to consider, 140 exhibits for you to consider. It's a great week for this province of Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm delighted that you have all chosen to spend the week here with us. I hope your time is spent productively, and I hope you come back again. You'll have a great time here this week. Thank you all for joining us. I want to invite you now to proceed across the Pedway to the Mile 1 Stadium, visit the exhibit booths there, and I believe there's going to be some coffee over there for those of you who may be interested in such things. So with that, thank you very much to our speakers once again, Rear Admiral John Newton, Christine Healy, Terry Lindstrom. Thank you very much for your insightful presentations, and I hope you're going to join us at the exhibits for a little while. Thank you. Pleasure, sir. Well done.
Good on you.
Well done.